Hello everybody, Joe Marquez here, and I just want to say thank you so much for allowing me into your home and be able to collaborate with you on the subject known as eBinders. Now, first off, an eBinder is different than a portfolio in that an eBinder is a collection of student work through the entirety of a year, whereas a portfolio is a collection of best works to be able to showcase at the end of the year. An eBinder is someplace that students interact with on a daily basis. They can go in there and reflect and remember what they have done and be able to study what they've learned so that they can prepare themselves for an exam later on. So an eBinder is something the students really need to really dig their hands into. That's why an eBinder, when you're pushing it out to your entire class, should have a cadence and a routine so that students understand that it needs to be interacted with on a daily basis. Now, everything that I'm going to showcase for you today is going to be available on this website, bit.ly/eBinders, and it's going to have everything that I'm going to showcase to you and more. But I just want to be able to kind of give you an overlay of everything an eBinder can have. And I also want you to understand that eBinders are specific towards a teacher and a school and a district. So the things that I'm going to showcase for you are just recommendations. You can definitely change them up. You can remix them to make them work best for you. So I just want to showcase for you some things that I have found that work really great in eBinders and get acceptance by the students, and an easy way to kind of check for understanding throughout the year. First off, when I was looking at an eBinder, the one thing I wanted to say is, I don't want to think of it as this just digital binder. I wanted to think of it as a binder in general. So I wanted to break it down to the bare bones and think about what is the purpose of having a student keep a binder, whether it's digital or physical. And when I thought about this long and hard, I came to the conclusion that it's basically three things that a binder is meant to do. One, it's a collection of students' work throughout the course of an assignment, a project, or a unit that will help them better understand the material. So they're collecting all of this work. Not everything. They're only collecting data points and assignments and activities that are going to help them understand the essential question or the primary question of the unit or the assignment. Next, it needs to be a place of reflection. They need to be able to complete a binder page and be able to go back and reflect. What did I learn? What questions do I still have? How can I find answers to those questions? So it needs to be able to be a place they can reflect on their work daily. And finally, it's a place for recollection. This recollection is when they're going through their binder pages at a later date, and because they created it and they've added items of importance, they can recollect the information, they can recollect the day, they can recollect the activity. So these are all the things that we are looking for in an eBinder. Now, everything that I just said to you sounds great, but it is actually based in science as well. It really relates to the cognitive learning theory. And this theory implies that an enhanced cognitive process takes place when students are actually involved in creating the activities and products themselves. And this is composed of many different processes, and three of the most important to an eBinder are observational learning, which means they're learning from each other and they're learning from their activities. And an eBinder should not be something students create and then hide away. It's something that should be available to the class for other students to be able to peruse and see the other mindsets of each other students. So it needs to be made open to the entirety of the class. The other one is reproduction, meaning after they've learned something, they should be able to reproduce or create something that is related to that subject. And that's a main component of the eBinder, especially in the section that we're going to talk about in learning artifacts, where the students are creating materials based on what they've learned during the course of the lesson. And then finally, self-efficiency. This is when the students improve their knowledge by actually putting that behavior into practice. So they're actually doing something with the material. So these three things really support that cognitive learning theory, where learning actually is enhanced by the students having this tactile experience. And when we're talking about eBinders, we're not talking that everything has to be digital. I'm a huge proponent of blended learning, which means you're still going to be doing hands-on activities, you're still going to be doing hands-on projects, but you're going to have the students document those in a digital means. And a really good way to explain this to students is through social media. Tell the students that they are allowed to use their laptops to take pictures and record videos throughout the entirety of a lesson. And my mindset is always in the mindset of a science teacher, because that's my background. And I really find that when students were given the opportunity to take pictures during labs, and then to add those pictures into their labs, as long as they wrote down a reason why they took that picture and what was happening in that picture, they really gravitated towards understanding the material more. And that is also leading us to another theory called the multimedia learning theory, which was described by Mayer. And basically what's that saying is, it says students learn better with multiple media components than a single component alone, meaning text alone will not help students, but text and images will. Audio and text will. Video and text, or video and images. So if you're creating multimedia components through an eBinder, you're really allowing that cognitive theory to take hold. That multimedia theory really gravitates right there. So you really need to explain this to students in that form of social media. But instead of taking pictures of things outside the classroom and posting it on their Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat, or I guess you're looking at TikTok now, they're taking pictures during the course of the lesson and being proud of what they're learning, being proud of what them and their partners are creating, and then they're posting those images to the eBinder. That creates memory right there, because they're involved in the entirety of the process. So that's what we're really looking at with these eBinders. We want them to really take hold of them. So don't think it's just digital things that need to be placed in here. It's also physical things as well. And I'm going to showcase for you some examples that students have created where they are actually putting in physical items into their eBinders. So I just wanted to make that clear. An eBinder is not 100% digital. It's a 100% digital location that physical and digital items can be placed in. So I just wanted to make that clear for us. On this website that you can definitely go to, bit.ly/eBinders, I'm going to showcase some examples of student work, but you can definitely come in here and see those examples as well. Also, on this webpage, there's step-by-step tutorials for everything that I'm going to showcase for you. It's a multiple-part series on eBinders to give you a deeper dive into every aspect of how to create what I'm going to be showcasing for you today. The first thing I want to talk to you about is eBinder templates. An eBinder template is incredibly important, and it's also incredibly personal to you, the teacher. You want to be able to create a template that will help you check for understanding at a quicker and easier pace for the students, but also it allows for the students to help them understand the eBinder by creating a cadence or a daily activity that they see consistently throughout their eBinder. So a template is incredibly important. And I do want to point something out to you right now, that if you go to sites.google.com, they just recently added a option for a template gallery. And I think that is a really great thing, because now students can have portfolios. The only downside is this. When you, the teacher, are creating a portfolio, so here's an example of a portfolio, a single subject portfolio, you're going to find that during the course of the year, there are things that you want to change. There are things that you're like, you know what, this didn't work, I'm going to remove this. This activity really worked, I want to add that. Or this, a student came up with this cadence and I really like that idea, so you include that. And so you're constantly changing the look and the feel and the template of your eBinder. It gets better every single year. And I find that if you just create a template and throw it in here, you're going to be more likely to just be using that same template over and over and over, and the yearly getting better of that template is not going to happen. So I just want you to be aware of that. I know this template gallery is going to exist. It's going to get even better. But for me, once I put it in this gallery, it becomes static. You can't change that template anymore. And so it kind of removes the idea of the idea that it's organically growing into something better every year. So I'm going to show you a way that works now. And maybe even in the future, when you do see that this is getting bigger and better, you might still find this idea a little bit better. And so this is what I do. And this is the hack that'll work for you. I create a folder called eBinder Template Gallery. And I put all of my eBinders, or all of my templates, or maybe it's just one template that you're going to be working with. I put it in here. And this is my master template that I'm going to constantly be changing throughout the year. And what I do in this template gallery is I make sure that I change the share settings to the folder as anyone with the link can view. Let me tell you why. And I have a whole video on how to do this and why to do this, but quickly and superficially, let me show you why. here is a binder that I made myself. It's just a website. And I want to show you that if you want your students, and the only way they can make a copy is if they have access to the draft, not the published copy. So the draft. And if you do this and you say, oh, anyone with the link can edit, you don't want your students to be editing your template because, you know, students are going to be students and they're going to make changes and they're going to think it's funny. There is no way to make it say anyone with the link can view, because when an anyone with the link can view setting is set, a copy can be made. But that's not given it to you here. So yes, if you set it as anyone with the link can edit, they will be able to make copies, but they'll also be able to make changes to your master copy. You do not want that. But once, I'm going to show you this. Once you've placed this copy in this folder that the share settings have been placed as anyone with the link can view, I want to show you something that magically happens. The share setting now for this eBinder is anyone with the link can view. So it automatically creates that option for you. So now the students can actually make their copy. So let me show you what you're going to do with this. You're going to take the link to this folder right here. You're going to come in here and you're going to grab this link and you're going to paste this in Google Classroom. So here's an example of a Google Classroom, and I'm going to create a topic called eBinder materials. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an assignment and I copy it. Make a copy of your eBinder right there. And under the add, I'm going to paste that link right there. So it's a link to my folder. Now, they need instructions on how to make a copy. The great thing about that is on this website that I've showcased for you right here, you can just copy this right here and paste that in as your instructions in your Google Classroom. So let me show you. You're just going to copy and paste. And so now the students have the instructions right here. It says, please read the instructions below. Open the eBinder template, which is attached. Once you're in the template, you're going to right click on the eBinder, you're going to make a copy, and then you're going to close the template folder. And then once you open the eBinder, you're going to name it with your last name and your eBinder, and then you're going to update the header and the site to be that page. And so you can change that up, but the most important part is 1 and 2. So let me show you what this looks like. So I'm going to definitely make sure I keep that in my eBinder materials. I'm not going to put a due date and I'm not going to put any points. And I'm going to go ahead and select assign. Oh, and real quick before I hit assign, make sure that it is automatically set to students can view file. You do not want the students to edit the file or make a copy of the file. You want to just leave it as students can make the file, and then you hit assign. Once it's assigned, you'll now have the assignment make a copy of your eBinder. And now in the students website right here, you can see that they have that exact same option right there as well. And so the students would come in here, they'd select make a copy of your eBinder, they would read the instructions, and they would click on the link. In the link, they would come right over here and they would right click on the file and select make a copy. Notice they cannot select delete, they cannot select edit, only make a copy. And that is key here. Now, depending on how big your template is, it may take between 30 seconds and 1 minute for that copy to be made. And if you have all of your 40 students making this at once, it may take just a little bit longer. Now, once the students have their copy made, they're going to come in here and they're going to change the title to their first name or last name. So I'm going to go ahead and do fake student eBinder. This is so it'll help you find it yourself. Next, they would change the title to whatever they want. And I want you to notice everything that we put in here for the students is already there. So from our template, it pushed over here. For example, usually for each unit, you may have the first or second activity already pre-planned. So you can definitely put those tasks already in. And in the task, you would have your essential question, you would have a section for your artifacts and labs, and then you have a section for your learning log. So all of those things will be pre-prepared for the students. But here's the thing. Things come up, new activities happen, things go, you come up with a great idea while you're running in the morning and you want to add that in. And so all these things happen. So you have to create a little bit of flexibility and leeway in these binders, because here's the thing. Once again, your template had been copied by the student. Even if you make changes to your master template, it will not be reflected in the student's template because they've already made a copy. That is why in the pages section, I always create these blank pages for our students. So that means, so in this task page, there's always a section. Now let me show you. In the task page, we always have these three things. We always have a place for the essential question. This is like the guiding topic for the day. And the students want to interact with this. Like, what do they already know, or what do they hope to learn about this essential question? Another section that's not here that you can always place in is a section for notes. How are you going to put your notes in there? They could be done on a Google Doc. They can be done on regular paper. They can be done as visual notes, sketch notes. So, but you can always have a place for your notes. A huge section here is the learning artifacts section, a place where the students complete activities, make projects, record videos, take images. These are things that students are creating to help them understand how to answer that essential question. And finally, a section for their learning blog. What did they learn? What was their aha moment? What do they know now that they didn't know before? These are some things that they could be answering on a daily basis. You don't want the students to have to manually create a brand new task page every single time. So let's say you're on Unit 2 and you already have Task 1 in there, but now you're on Task 2. You don't want them to have to recreate those task pages. So all the students do is right-click. They hit make a copy or duplicate this page, and they're going to title it Unit 2 Task Number 2. Now for you can totally change the cadence of this up. You can go Unit 2 and then the name of the activity, completely up to you. But once they're done, they hit done. It's going to place this page right down here. And once it is done being created, they're going to select it and move it up to the top. So once it's been made, I'm going to now move it under Unit 2. So now I have Unit 1 Task 1 that I created as the teacher, but now we have Unit 2 Task 2 for the student. And notice all they have to do is change the header, but you have your essential question section right there. You have a section for focus notes right there. You have a section for labs and the artifacts right there, and then a section for the learning log. And so it's all pre-prepared and it's all created for the students. And that is extremely important because when it comes to an eBinder, you want it to be a place that students can quickly get onto and quickly start adding in. You don't want them to have to take time to recreate this page every single time. So hiding in these hidden pages will really help you during the course of the year. So that's how we hand them out to the students. And then that is also what that task page is supposed to look like right there. Now, during the course of the day, right, there's the sections in the eBinders that the students are completely interacting with 100% for the majority of the time, like 85% of the time, is going to be the learning artifacts page. This is where they create artifacts or create ideas and create materials that will help the student understand the material. Now, a quick background on a learning artifact. A learning artifact is considered something created by the student during the course of instruction, in class during the course of instruction. And to be considered an artifact, the object needs to be lasting, durable, public, and always present. Always present. That's the key. Not placed in their backpack and never to be seen again. Durable, not thrown away, not my dog ate it, right? Public. Now, public, I don't mean public to the world, right? At the moment, we still have to obey student privacy, but public meaning at least to the class. We learn best together, right? We don't learn in silos. So a student may be struggling and they don't want to be raising their hand and asking the teacher, but if they can see other students, what they've created and how they were understanding the material, their mind begins to work like, oh, that's what they meant, or oh, that's what I can do. Students learn best together. Humans learn best together. So it's extremely important that we make these public. And we have to get out of our minds, oh, students shouldn't be sharing work because they're just going to copy and copy and copy. Sometimes that may happen, but in reality, students are going to learn and grow as a community, not as an individual. So we have to make sure that we are allowing our students to have that community in class. And so that's what a learning artifact is. Now, if your students want to are having a difficult time learning how to make a learning artifact, you can always scaffold them by giving them a template. So one of my favorite templates to create is it's called a slide snap. So let me show you a slide snap and what would be on it. So a slide snap is a snapshot of something they've completed or something they've learned. It could be a physical item, it could be a digital item, but they bring that image in. Then they bring an emoji over that image that helps them tell you, the teacher, and other students how they felt while they were completing that part of the assignment. A happy face means, oh yeah, I did a really good job. I think I did well. A sad face means, I don't know what I'm doing. A confused place. So the emojis actually help you as you're looking through these slide snaps. It helps you understand which students need help and which students are relatively good with that subject. Another part of that learning artifact is text, right? We already talked about the multimedia principle where images alone won't work. Images and text help. So we want a text box, and they explain what they did on the project, how it made them feel, what are they still questioning. So that's what that text box is for. And to really knock it out of the park, adding a video. And a video can be added through multiple means, but my favorite is adding it through Screencastify. And when you click on Screencastify, the students can actually do a quick recording of anything that they've been working on. And all they would do is click on record, and it creates a recording of that object. And in that recording, it saves it here and it houses it right here. And what they can do is once they are done recording their object right here, what they would do is just click on copy shareable link to make sure that it is shareable. And then once they are in, they're going to embed that item right in there. So now we have an image, we have text, and now we also have a video. Here's an example of something we actually did in class. I had students go over and review an article that we read online, and they physically annotated that article online. And if you watched my previous session on visual learning, I showed exactly how to annotate articles online. And what I had my students do is they brought that article into a slide snap so I can see what they were working on. They would type right up here what they learned about that article and how they felt about taking notes online. And then finally, they gave me a visual, vocal, and video of everything they did to complete that assignment. It really, really, really does a great job at connecting the students' cognitive learning to what they are saying they've learned, and it creates that moment in time of recognition so that when they're going back to recollect all this information, they remember making it, they remember saying it, so it helps them understand it a little bit more. So this is a way that you can create learning artifacts if your students are having a difficult time understanding that. Now, once your students really understand what a learning artifact is, I recommend just having them go nuts. So let me show you. This is an actual student's binder from an actual class. It's not something that I created just to show you how it could work. This is actually how it did work. So the student in the task page came up here and answered the essential question. They included a notes section. So not only did they bring in notes that they made in Google Docs, but they also brought in a visual notes that they created in Google Drawing. And then during the lab, once again, I'm not talking about doing everything digitally, especially in science. It needs to be hands-on. In most subjects, it needs to be hands-on. And so we still do physical work. We use paper and pencil. We still use the good old strategies of drawing, but I want my students to take pictures of those items and bring them in, because if it helped them learn, I want them to make that is an artifact. They made it during the course of instruction, during the course of learning. They're making it present. They're making it visible. These are learning artifacts. And then during the lab, have them, encourage them, take pictures, take videos. But just like in social media, you don't just post a picture. You post a picture and then you leave a comment, something that helps people understand that picture, maybe something that helps them recognize that picture. And that's what they have to do right here in these learning artifacts. They have to take a picture and they have to bring it in. So as the students start understanding these things, they start creating these great learning artifacts. And once again, this student, at the very beginning, let me show you. Here's the very first time that we did a task in this class and asked them to do learning artifacts. And basically all they brought in was Google Docs and a Google slide. They were just like, oh, this is what my teacher wants, just all. And I'm like, no, I want you to use this like social media. Take pictures of the activity, take pictures of the learning, take pictures of everything that you're doing that's going to help you understand these things. And so after about a month of just reminding them, social media, this is what we start getting. So it's pretty amazing the way the students can really gravitate towards this. And then a section right down here for those learning logs. So it's incredibly important that we allow the students to really showcase their talents here in those learning artifacts sections. And we have to remind them, this is the section that's going to help you understand the material. This is the section right here that's going to help you recollect that material at a later date. So make it meaningful, make it plentiful, and make it lasting right here in that learning artifacts page. So that's what I'm talking about when we're looking at learning artifacts. And if you want a copy of this Slide Snap learning artifact, once again, on this webpage, you can definitely come in here and it'll go through everything that you can to learn about how to use these learning artifacts. And once again, in fact, if you come up here to these step-by-step eBinders, you can come and see how to use those learning artifacts right there in your classroom. Now, after you start using these eBinders and doing all these cool things with them, you're actually going to start recognizing that, hey, I need to be able to check to see if my students are actually doing this. There's a few different ways that you can do this. Number one is when your students create their binder here, when the students make their binder, have them come up here and share it with you, right? So you're going to have them come up here, and under inviting people, they're going to type in your name. All right, so I'm Mr. Marquez, so they're going to put me and they're going to add me as an editor. And what this will do is it'll actually put this file in my Google Drive, and now I can go in at any time and come in and check. The other thing you can do is have the students, well, actually, here's the big thing. You have to remember this, and I'm sorry I didn't mention it earlier. After any change, always make sure your students hit publish. If they don't hit publish, then all the edits they made will not be viewed in what we call the published view. That's the view that the rest of the class can see. And actually, that's the view that I highly recommend you as the instructor only check. Only come into this edited view if you see that the student is not completing work in the published view, because most likely than not, they're actually doing the work, they're just forgetting to hit publish. So I tell my students every day, okay, everybody get ready, we're going to start picking up, hit publish, log out, and then pick up your chairs, right? Hit publish, log out, then pick up your chairs. So always hit publish. I always tell them that. So once they've hit publish, right there, they're going to publish that site. It is now going to be available to be viewed by the rest of the class. Now, this is how I recommend you check for understanding. Okay, here's the easiest way. In Google Classroom, right down here, underneath your week's assignments, I recommend you create a section called Binder Check. So I'm going to click Assignment, and I'm going to call it Binder Check. I'll call it number 1. Let's say it's our first one. And then under Instructions, I'm going to say, I want your URL for the learning artifacts portion of your task number 2. So we're looking at the learning artifacts portion of task 2 of unit number 1. Okay, just want to be very specific. And this is what you're going to post. Once again, you can leave points for it. I'm going to leave it right here as ungraded. I'm going to make sure I put it under that week right there. And this is what the students are going to do. And I'm going to also put, I will leave comments here. Mark done once you have placed in your URL. So just like that. And you're going to hit assign. And once you've assigned it, you're going to go back to here, back to your students right over here. And this is what your students are going to do. When they come in here and they see the option here under that unit, under that day, that there's a binder check, they're going to view an assignment. And this is what they're going to do. They're going to add a link. And let me show you how easy this is. And it has to be under published view. So that's what I'm saying. It's very important. So under Unit 1, Task 2, so here's Unit 1, Task 2. Let's say the students finished it. Every header has its very own URL. This is incredibly important. All they do is click. That's their Unit 1 URL. And then they're going to add that link. right there, and they're going to hit paste, and then they're going to add the link. That's all they do. Now, if you want the students to tell you what they've done or how they worked on it, if you want them to understand all this stuff, then under the prompts they're going to say I blah 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 blah. So that's where they can leave you a comment about things they've done, or maybe things that they were having a difficult time with, or why they didn't finish it when you check it. But they're going to send that, and they're going to turn in this work right here. So now, as the teacher, I'm going to come in here. Here's my binder check. I'm going to view the assignment. I'm going to see that, oh, fake student 1 has turned this in. I'm going to click on the assignment, and look, it takes you right there to unit 1, task 2, artifacts page. You don't even have to scroll. You can come in here and look, and you go, oh, look, they added one image, they added a thing. I would really like them to add more to this item. And so as the teacher, you would come back to your binder check, and to that student, you would come in here, and you would leave a private comment to this student right down here. Please add more to this section in the future. Make it more social media like. Done. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit publish or post. So now I'm leaving all this information here. I don't have to go searching all over for these eBinders all over the place. It just does it just like that. Another way you can do quick eBinder checks is actually through Flipgrid. So if you wanted to, you can have the students come right in here, and this is what you would do. So I'm going to come over here real quick, and I'm going to actually say underneath my eBinder, I can say this. Instead of turning in the link here, this is what I can do. I can come over here to the instructions, and instead of saying the link to your URL, I can say I want your URL link for your video in Flipgrid. Just like that. And then in Flipgrid, you can actually create a section called eBinder check. And your eBinder check in Flipgrid, you're going to come over here and click share. You're going to copy the link, and I'm going to paste it as the URL right here in our assignment. So I'm adding the link, and I'm going to hit save. And there we go. So when our students come in here, and they go to their Google Classroom, and they see the eBinder check, instead of pasting the link directly, they're going to come in here, log in with their school Google account, and they're going to give a screencast to you on their eBinder. Once they start the Flipgrid, they're going to click on the 3 dots here at the bottom and select screen recording, and they're going to start recording their screen. It's going to give you a countdown. Students will come in. You ask for unit 2, unit 1, task 2, and the artifacts page. So the students would say, hi, Mr. Marquez. So I completed my artifacts page. We did our molecule drawing, and so I took a picture of that, and I put a little bit of information here. That's all I added. Is that okay? Do I need more? I would love a little bit more information on how to make my artifacts page a little bit better. Thank you so much, Mr. Marquez. I hope I can make this better for you. And they would hit stop recording. And so you would see the whole thing right there. They're going to hit next. I recommend that they select a frame from their video instead of, there we go, hit next. So we know that it's their artifacts page. They're going to submit the video, and you notice how it gives you the URL. You're going to copy the link address to the URL, and the student would then come right into their Google Classroom under view assignment, they would paste in that link right there for you and turn it in. And then you would see under your class right over here, student work, you would see that your student right here went ahead and turned in this assignment. It has the link directly to the Flipgrid response. And you can hit play to watch those students' responses. So there's a variety of different ways that you can really check for understanding. One of them I recommend is, don't be pulling your hair out trying to check every single week. This is supposed to be an experience for you and your students, not extra work for you 100%. So I recommend maybe also having what we call binder buddies, having other students check each other to make sure everything's there and give recommendations to each other. And binder buddies don't have to be friends. I highly recommend they're not friends. It's people who are actually going to give constructive feedback to make their binders better and keep them on task so that they don't fall behind weeks and weeks and weeks in their binders. And so I just want you to understand that. And there's so much that you can do in eBinders that a half-hour webinar like this is not going to cover. So if you absolutely have any more information or any more questions, please contact me on Twitter at JoeMarquez70. Please come to this website, bit.ly/eBinders. It has step-by-step tutorials on everything with more coming. It's just a great way for students to really take hold of their learning, really take hold of really understanding what organization in a digital environment should look like, and it becomes a really great community tool for everybody to start seeing each other's mindsets on a daily basis. So I hope that you start looking at eBinders in a different light. I hope you start utilizing these, and I am showing you how to use this in Google Sites, but this can be done in Microsoft OneNote. This can be done on Seesaw for younger kids. I just highly recommend that you keep your cadence. You allow the students to really add anything and everything that they can to help them understand the material, and that they can make it their own so that they can actually connect with the material, so they can recollect and remember everything that they've done during the course of your class. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being an amazing educator, and thank you so much for changing the lives of our students on a daily basis.